Back to the unwind. I want to dive into the Bloomberg terminal and call up #BTV 7515. The yellow line for our audiences here is the Fed balance sheet, $4.5 trillion there all the way on the right-hand side of your screen. My question, how much of an unwind do you think would be appropriate to avoid market volatility here? A lot of people are nervous that if and when this happens, that there's going to be a lot of volatility out there. What in your head is something that is appropriate?
Well, a simple thing to do with the balance sheet, first of all, $4.5 trillion is higher than anybody thinks it should be. So that's number one. Number two, if you want to create some policy space for the future and at least have the option of doing quantitative easing in the future, then you should start getting the balance sheet down to a reasonable size today. And another aspect of this is that all you have to do is allow the reinvestment policy to end, and then you can gradually run off some of the balance sheet size over time. Also, if you think it's lumpy, if you look at some of the pictures about what's maturing when and what month and that kind of thing, it does look kind of lumpy. But we could manage that and smooth that out in such a way that it just declined at a given rate. So I don't think this is a matter of doing something that would cause volatility in markets. I think it would be taken in stride by markets. And I think we could get to a lower number than $4.5 trillion with a reasonable policy.
I need to jump in here because I want to ask, what is a reasonable size then? What is a number there?
That's a good question. Before the crisis, it was about $800 billion, almost all cash with some reserves. So post-crisis, I think, if I have my numbers right, cash is all the way up at $1.7 trillion now. So if you add some reserves to that, maybe a couple $100 billion of reserves, you could get to a balance sheet size of $2 trillion. So the point is that the $4.5 trillion that we have now is way above anything like something in the $2 trillion range. And so we should allow it to run off so that we're at least making some progress toward that eventual goal. The committee has not decided what it wants to do. But even if we ran policy with significant amounts of reserves, we'd only need a balance sheet probably in the $2 trillion range. So the point is not to try to go to $2 trillion immediately. It's just to allow the runoff to occur gradually over several years.